I'm Johnny, not Matic.
Hi, John.
I'm grateful to be here and grateful to be clean today. I'm a member of the Just for Today home group in Muncie, Indiana. Meets on Wednesday nights. I'm a member of the Mid-State area and the Indiana region. And I'm very proud to be a part of all those. And Narcotics Anonymous Fellowship around the world. The topic for this one is how we are each other's eyes and ears. Yeah. And this is really a tough one for me because I'm real judgmental. You know, I call people on a lot of stuff, and I upset a lot of people. And I don't know if that's right all the time, but I know I do it. I know that in Narcotics Anonymous, I think that commitments should be taken seriously. I think you should be responsible if you take them. And I think if you don't do what you say you're going to do, that you should be called on it. I think that if I'm sponsoring people and they're doing something wrong, I should talk to them about it. I think that we need to focus on recovery in meetings, and I think that should be really structured. You know, I'm a Nazi, you know, and there's a lot of things that I don't like to hear in meetings that I hear, and I say something about it when I hear it. But I think a lot of that's due to the fact that for a long time I ran both sides of the street because I wasn't willing enough to commit myself to one side or the other. And I'm grateful today that I am committed to one side. I think that there's so many things that you see that if you don't say something about it, it just gets worse. And it eats at the fellowship. It eats at the unity. It disrupts everybody. You know, I'm not a big fan of a lot of movement in meetings, and a lot of times I'll say something about that if people are moving around all the time in a meeting. You know, like they go get coffee 5 times, or they go to the bathroom 3 or 4 times. I'll say something to them about it sometimes. And the reason it is because Narcotics Anonymous is my life. It has been since 1988. You know, prior to that, the life I had was not living. I know that there's been times when I think I should have been called on things a lot more than what I was, because I've made a lot of mistakes here. But you all let me make the mistakes that I made, and I'm grateful for that. I think that it's real important. I'm a firm believer of the clarity statement, a firm believer in that, and I think it's very important to me in my recovery to stay focused and to not give a blurred message. I know that I'm grateful to be here and grateful to eat the food that they have here. You know, I'm a single guy, and eating 3 meals a day is like unbelievable for me. But the fellowship means so much to me, and responsibility in the fellowship means an awful lot to me. I mean, if you're the GSR, be the GSR. Attend area, you know, get involved. If you're the H&I chair, be the H&I chair, and make sure that things happen and make it grow and be active in service work. You know, if you're the secretary of me, if you're the coffee maker, make sure you're there in plenty of time to make the coffee. You know, I mean, I know that that's what was done for me when I got there, and I know that it's real important for me for a meeting to start on time. It's real important for a meeting to start on time, for trusted servants to be there, and then I let people know about it when it don't. I know that if meetings don't have flyers because they don't come to area, it hurts the fellowship in the whole. So I let people know about that when that don't happen. I don't go get them for them. I tell them it's their responsibility to get their own and to be there. Even when I was using, I was considered a critic. People always called me a critic because I would confront people about things that I knew about, and if they wanted to argue, we would argue. And I know that sometimes that's a benefit to me, and sometimes it's not. You know, sometimes our character defects we look at as assets. But I know it's extremely important if somebody I'm sponsoring is doing something completely out of line, that I continue to maybe not tell them what to do, but give them the information that I have on the problems that it can create. And I know I'm glad that my sponsor did that for me a little over a year ago when I was involved with something that I had no business being involved with. And I know that life in recovery is just an awesome thing. I know that forgiveness is probably the most important thing for me to remember today. I'm just truly grateful to be here, and I'll let Mike talk now.
My name is Mike. I'm an addict. Hi, everybody. I'm grateful to be here today, and I'd like to ask for a moment of silence so I can get in touch with the power greater myself. Thank you. You know, I thought about this before I came down here while I was eating lunch. And the thing that comes to mind is something that I've known all along throughout my recovery, and that is that my higher power speaks to me through you people. And you people have been my eyes and ears throughout my recovery, whether you realize it or whether you don't. You know, when God cleaned me up, I'd been coming to the tables for a couple of years, and only to go back out and shoot dope 2 more times. And when I got there, there were 3 other guys there, and there was 1 meeting in my hometown, and that was it. And we hung on to each other for dear life. And none of us knew how to stay clean, none of us knew how to live clean, and none of us knew how to work steps, so we kind of learned together. And through that process, my foundation of my recovery was built, because when I came out of treatment the last time in 1984, it was possible for me to go to 90 meetings in 90 days, and only 1 meeting out of a week had to be an meeting. You know, I almost could do 90 meetings in 90 days in Narcotics Anonymous, but not quite. You know, there were a lot of things shared with me, you know, early on in my recovery by those guys. You know, it wasn't keep coming back. You know, it was, we'll be over to pick you up at such and such a time. You know, there's a meeting tomorrow night. You know, they didn't talk a lot about not using. They talked about how it felt to be clean. You know, because a couple of those guys had been clean for a little while. I think one had 9 months and one had a year. And you know, they were finding out what it talks about. And it says, you know, this was read before this meeting started: the full fruit of a labor of love lives in a harvest, and that always comes in its right season. And you know, that's what I experienced early on in recovery, you know, from those other people. You know, they literally helped me live the first step. They kept me around long enough to love me back to sanity. And between 2 of them, they led me to believe in a power greater than myself. And, you know, I was not very old when I got here. And the only thing I knew was how to live on the streets without holding a job, you know. I didn't know anything about living a normal life. That had went by the wayside several years before, you know. And one of the guys, I'll never forget it, one of the guys found out that I was a couple months clean and I started packing again. And he called my buddy, and I was on my way over to this other guy's house. And I got there, and John told me, he said, look, he said, you know, this isn't what recovery's about. If you don't get rid of the gun, then I want you to get rid of my phone number, and you're not welcome to come back over to my house. And like I said, there were only 4 of us. So, you know, that would have been like cutting a major artery. So needless to say, you know, I got rid of the gun. Another time when I was clean, in the first year, I robbed a bank with an Inteller card because I wanted money to go gamble with. And the next day, I remember driving over to John's house. I knew that I was probably in trouble. And John made me go like a little punk kid in his car, and he took me into this bank, and John and I both, back then, had long hair. We both still have long hair, and we both still wear beards, and John's been clean almost 20 years now. But anyway, we walk into this bank, and the first thing that this lady bank manager did not want to do was she did not want to shut the door so we could talk to her. She probably thought we were going to stick her up. But he made me go in there and fess up to what I did, you know, and I grew from that experience. You know, they made me pay back the money plus some, but they didn't send me through the court system. And that's since then I've never pulled a stunt like that again, you know, not clean. Last October, the Crossroads area had a fundraiser function, and they asked me if I'd come and speak. And I did. And one of the things that I remembered sharing that night, you know, when I was sitting in this auditorium and I was looking out, you know, at all the folks in this auditorium, I looked back there and I saw 4 guys from my home group, and I happened to sponsor each one of them, okay? But, you know, one thing I shared when I was sharing that night was, you know, these 4 guys are from my home group. They're the ones that keep me alive. And I took the time to thank them that evening, you know, because they know me better than anybody. You know, they knew, for example, last November and December, they knew that I was hopping in my truck and going to the river boat way too much. And Johnny's one of them that called me on it. Mm-hmm. Johnny's not a member of my home group, okay, but our sponsorship family's pretty tight, and we're not separated by more than about 20 minutes or 20 miles. So, you know, we all talk amongst each other. And, you know, they're still my eyes and ears, you know, and I've been clean a long, long time. You know, I haven't found it necessary to use since May the 2nd of 1984. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that this disease can't walk up and hit me in the back of the head and make me sicker than hell. You know, when I think about my recovery, I think about that song by the Grateful Dead, What a Long Strange Trip It's Been, playing in this ear. And over here, I think about the theme song from Gilligan's Island. Now, that's how my life's been these last 18 years, okay? You know, and it's due to the fact that I suffer from a disease, you know, and the disease will run rampant in your life, and it will take your life. I buried my first sponsor in this program when I was 11 years clean because he died shooting dope, you know, and, you know, people ask me, you know, will you share, will you do this, will you do that, and I was taught by that man that died shooting dope that when Narcotics Anonymous asks, you do it, you know. In my area, I'm our area treasurer for the second year in a row. And it's not because I like counting money. It's because nobody else wanted to do it, for Christ's sakes, you know? So, once again, I stepped up the plate and I did it. Now, you know, at the end of this year, somebody else is going to do it. I guarantee you that. I'm tired of counting money. But I'll do something else. You know, I've done H&I work since I've been like a month clean or whatever. And I'll continue to do H&I work as long as I'm living and breathing. And I enjoy doing that. And most of the time, when somebody asks me to sponsor them, one of the first things I get to talking to them about, you know, are you doing any service work? You know, are you emptying ashtrays? Are you helping put away the chairs after a meeting? Are you hanging around after a meeting to see if a newcomer needs a ride home, for crying out loud? Because I don't know about where y'all are from, but where we're from, in some of the neighborhoods we have meetings, they're not real nice fucking places. You know, they're just not. You know, and people get hurt. You know, and you know, this is my way of being eyes and ears, you know, for folks, you know, asking them, you know, what are you doing to give back to this fellowship? You know, are you going to your home group every week like you're supposed to? Myself, I missed my last 2 home group meetings because my mother's been in a hospital, and I've been her primary caregiver for 2.5 years. But that's probably the first time since that meeting's been my home group that I've ever missed it 2 weeks in a row, you know. So I also try to do myself what I ask others if they're doing, you know. It's not do as I say. It's not, you know, how do my parents used to say that? Don't do as I do as I say, or something like that. Fuck that shit. You know, that ain't living it. That ain't living it. You know, and you know, I sat around these tables probably for the first 10 years clean, thinking it was real important for me to stay on top of what I was feeling and how I was dealing with everything. And you know, that's not true. You know, what's important is, what am I doing today? You know, what am I doing? You know, am I acting like a recovering addict, or am I acting like a dope fiend and the only thing that's missing is the dope? I mean, get me in front of a blackjack table and I'll show you how crazy I can get. You know, that's the way the disease manifests itself in my life today. You know, I love to gamble, but you know, that's a whole nother thing. You know, it's part of the disease of addiction. It's something that I have to deal with. You know, and I haven't been to one of those establishments since 23rd of December. Okay, you know, I just haven't went. Mainly because I got a pile of money set aside to go to the World Convention in July, and I'm going to Atlanta. You know, screw that. You know, they can have my money down at the riverboat some other time. But you know, I'm real grateful to be here today. You know, I love coming to this convention. There's something about Camp Mac that is real peaceful for me. You know, I always leave here feeling like my batteries have been charged, you know, and I leave here fairly calm every year, you know, and I really look forward to this weekend. But I want to thank the convention committee for allowing me to share, and for having Johnny share, and I want to turn this back over to Cynthia.
Before we open the floor for sharing, I need to remind everyone that you're being taped. If you wish not to be taped, please let me know so that the tape can be turned off. And with that, I open the floor for any discussion, any questions, comments.
I'm an addict.
Hi, Dean.
I'm related to the gambling.
I'm Dean.
Hi, Dean.
My family. I've been faced with this dilemma. Today, I don't want to use dope, and that's been a gift from God. But I've been finding myself choosing to act out on my disease thinking as far as it goes with gambling. I'm here to let you know that I don't like that feeling. It makes me feel dirty. And I didn't get clean to feel miserable. I'm going off 5 years clean by the grace of God. And I just would like to talk to you after this is over because I feel a spiritual void, and I proclaim have faith, and then I criticize myself. I feel like a hypocrite. I was caught in the grip of my disease and my addictive personality last night, and I missed my home group because I decided to blow money that I needed to spend on my bills on gambling. So it's more about the lifestyle, and I don't understand where I'm going wrong. I pray to God. I go to meetings. I go to four meetings per week. I'm part of the activity subcommittee. I give what I can give to this program. And sometimes maybe that's not enough. They told me that I had to build my life around this program. In which I thought I did. But I like to find the loopholes. And I'd like some help with this. Because I know if I keep doing what what I've been doing, eventually one of these times, if I keep going to that dope house where those damn machines are, I'm gonna get high. And if I get high, I die. Physically, mentally, and spiritually.
Right.
And I don't want to die today. So I'm here at Camp Mac trying to find some peace and hope for a better tomorrow. That's all I have.
Thanks for sharing.
I can definitely identify with the gambling. I'm from Detroit, and they got casinos everywhere now. And I stopped. I haven't been to the casino now in over a year. You know, don't mean I don't want to go. I had that same feeling. Oh man, as long as I was winning, it was cool. It was cool. But that feeling I felt, and you know, after I would lose, got to the point where I started looking at the bar. And that's when I knew I had to stop. And sometimes I still struggle about going back. Because I understand my disease today. I know I have a disease that cries out for chaos and pain. I'm attracted to that. Sometimes I wouldn't have any money, and I would sit in the casino, and it would be just like the lights and the waitresses, and they're pulling the money around, and hearing the bells, and it was just that excitement that I was attracted to. I'm attracted to chaos. That's one thing I had to recognize, and I didn't think I was attracted to chaos. But when I came to terms that I'm attracted to chaos and I'm attracted to pain, you know, and I've always have been, you know. I'm just coming up on 5 years clean too this year, and
that's the only way I was able to stop. I had to get honest with myself. Being honest ain't always a pretty sight for me. It's just that real. This is my first time here at Camp Mac, and I'm just having a ball. I called all the way back to Detroit, and I called my sponsor this morning. I'm like, y'all got to come. And I've been calling people back in Detroit, saying, y'all got to come back next year. This place it's awesome, you know. And I'm really enjoying myself. I had to apply the same principles and the steps to the disease wherever it might find me, and that's how I stay. You know, and I heard what you said about feelings, you know, and that's when I first got here, that's what I heard a lot about. It was about feelings. But you know what? My feelings will get me killed. You know, so I can't focus a whole lot. I recognize I have them, but my feelings can get me in a whole lot of trouble, because that's what I did for so many years, was try to feel good all the time. That's why I got high, because I want to keep recapturing that feeling. You know, the day I focus on what I'm supposed to do. And what I'm supposed to do always comes in conflict with what I want to do. You know, I always want to, you know, buy clothes or jewelry or blow money, not pay the bill, pay on the bill, rob Peter to pay Paul. That's what I'll be wanting to do, you know. But what I'm supposed to do is the things that this program tells me I should do. And I never want to do that. I never want to do that. You know, and that's been my problem all my life. My problem is I never knew how to react to life appropriately. I've always did it in an inappropriate manner. And that's what always got me in trouble. So today, you know, I get up and go to work. When I clock off at 4 o'clock in the morning, I never feel like getting up. I get up and go, because that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what I'm responsible for. I go to meetings not because I want to go all the time, but I'm responsible for my recovery. And as long as I think about what I'm responsible for and I focus on that, usually I stay out of trouble. Usually. You know, and I relapse back in old behaviors from time to time. And then when I go through the experience of lapsing back into that old behavior and I get what I get, it's just be a subtle reminder, okay, you kind of waving off track. I came here, and the spiritual experience that I'm enjoying here is really, and so I can't describe it. You know, when I went into that chapel, it was like the chapel hugged me. You know, that's how I felt. I mean, I don't know if that sounding crazy, but that's how I felt. You know, the simplicity of it. I've been in a lot of beautiful chapels, but the simplicity of that was so beautiful. It was awesome. You know, and it's just, when I'm taking back to Detroit, it's going to really, really motivate me to start doing a lot more. God has really been, you know, dealing with me since I've been here. You know, I have had so many blessings. I'm going to say this in close, you know, that a lot of times we don't understand, or we can't see the blessings coming. You know, we see other people get blessed, you know, and I have come to terms to realize, and I share this a lot, you know, for me, recovery is like staying in line. You know, there's people in front of me, there's people behind me, you know, and that line is always moving. And people that's in front of me, they got here before me, so a lot of times they get blessed before I get blessed. But if I stay in that line, eventually my turn will come. You know what I'm saying? But if I go use, then I step out of line, then I gotta go way back to the back, and start all over again. And I ain't willing to give up my place in line. I just ain't willing to do that. You know, so I stay in line, regardless. And I know it's forces trying to pull me out the line, but you know what? As long as I keep watching y'all, you know, watching that addict in front of me, say, wow, he got his degree, and God, he got his house, and he's got his family, you know, and things like that start coming. I said, you know what? I'm gonna hold on. I'm gonna stay in line. I got reunited with my daughter. I hadn't seen my daughter in 17 years. 17 years. And my daughter didn't even know I was alive till she was 12 years old. And when she turned 17, she ran away from home looking for me. Her mom's down in Atlanta. When I met my daughter, it was like my whole life came complete. It was a piece of me that that void I could never feel. And I used to oftentimes say I didn't even have a daughter because the pain of realizing I got one out there somewhere and I don't know what she's doing, where she at, it was unbearable. You know, and when I first seen my daughter and talked to her, and she said, yeah, Mom never had nothing good to say about you, things, this, that, and the other, but she said, I want to find out for myself. And she, man, my daughter's 20 years old now. She's in college. She's spiritually founded. You know, she don't have any kids, and she's focused. She's more focused than I ever been. She's a performer. She's doing plays. She's traveling. You know, and she said, and she's so happy that we're together. You know, everywhere we go, she's like, "This my dad. This my dad." People that I don't even know who she. Hey, she'll stop a conversation. This is my father. You know, and that's probably the greatest blessing that I ever experienced since I've been here. Being in a store and hearing somebody say, "Daddy, how does this look?" You know, money can't buy that. Money cannot buy the blessings and experience that you get if you don't use. So I have to stay focused. I have to stay focused and realize that the only way I can use after learning what I learned, I have to lie to myself. I don't think nobody can use without lying to themselves. Because I don't care whatever lie you tell yourself to use, it's a lie. I don't know which one you tell, but it's a lie. You know, because there's no reason for us to go back after coming and experiencing something like this. It just ain't no reason. You know, maybe I'm one of them ones that believe too much in this, but I believe that. And that's what I share with my sponsees. It's just no reason. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. You know, and I'm just blessed to be here. Thanks for letting me share.
This is the first time I sat in front of somebody and talked. Usually in the meeting, you're sitting at the table and you're talking, so it's kind of weird. But I just want to say that I'm enjoying this campground. It's like so beautiful for me. I went and seen I listened to the meeting, the workshop this morning after breakfast, and then we went to go see that cross-shaped tree. And after I left the workshop, I just had all these emotions and feelings. It was good feelings and good emotions, and after I seen that tree, it was like the higher power is like working through me when I'm here. I have 7 days clean.
All right.
You know, I'm trying to take one day at a time. I feel that my disease is trying to pull me, though. It's trying to pull me back. And I've been back out since I've been in the program. But I keep coming back because I want what people have. I see it and I want it. I'm just trying to figure out the way to get there, And here it's making me see things, things that, like you said, I got a 15-month-old son, and money can't buy that, you can't buy love, and it can't, and what if I keep using, my son's not going to have me, he might have me, but not completely, I won't be there for him like I should, and that's what I want, I want to be there for him, his dad's in jail, and we used together, and he's talking about that he's going to get out, and he wants to do things better. He's getting out on June 24th. So it's getting closer every day, and it's kind of worrying me because I don't really know what's going to happen, but I know for me that I need to stay focused on my recovery. I need to stay focused because I'm not going to lose what I got. A lot of people, I've seen a lot people that have lost more than I have lost, but I don't have to continue using to lose what I do still have. And it's just, I need to keep that in my mind and keep focused when my boyfriend gets out, and always keep that in mind, because he says he doesn't need the program. He says he can do it on his own. Well, that scares me because he's a good person, but not when he's using. And I can't keep continuing to be around him if he's going to be like that. I'll be there for him if he doesn't, but he's going to have to move out. And that'll be hard because I've been with him for 6 years. It'll be tough. But I was talking to a girl at lunchtime, and she kind of went to the same thing, and she said, yeah, for the 3 months I cried and wanted him to come back and stuff, but I knew that it was the right thing to do for myself. I'm trying to get myself in order, myself in line, and that's what I need to look at. Stop worrying about other people. Stop trying to fix other people. Fix myself and worry about myself. I need to, I'm the one that's important. People are important to me, but at this point, I'm not gonna go out there and die. I can't. That shit is strong. And it breaks me down every time I go back. It breaks me. And they say if you keep continuing, it's gonna break you even more, and you won't have any more feelings. And it'll be real tough. And I thank my higher power for letting me keep coming back here and having me, come to this Camp Mac and just, sharing all these experiences and talking to people. It's just been great, and that's all I have. Thanks.
Thanks for sharing.
I'm a recovering addict. My name's Dorothy.
Dorothy.
I too am blessed to be here. And I'd like to welcome anybody for their first time here at Camp Mac. I like this topic. This is something that I truly believe in. I've got one of the true blessings of this fellowship is the friendships. And, I've got a really, really good set of friends. And this is how I go by the topic is through my friends, I do not know still to this day what I do that's good and what's bad, what's right and what's wrong. And, my disease will tell me that when I'm doing something bad, it's cool, and this is where my friends come in. Dorothy, you're screwing up. And, if I get real defensive and I got to say, man, back off, I know something wrong, So this is when I really truly got to think about, step back, like they say, stop, drop, and roll. Well, it's for me, stop, think, and, maybe listen. And, so I really like this topic. I truly thank my friends that I have in this fellowship because, there's been times when I haven't listened to them and I've gone back out and picked up, I've been in terrible relationships because they've said, maybe he's not good for you, and I'd be like, no, I want that attention. Give me that attention. He's good, and then go home and get the shit beat out of me, and then come back and lie to them about it, So, I am truly blessed with the friendships that I have gained around here, and that's all I have. Thanks.
I'm an act. My name's Ross. And that hurt. I was talking to a friend of mine before the meeting, and I was encouraging them to share, and they're like, no, I don't do it very loving and caring, and and I was like, well, sometimes blunt, it works. It works for me, and I believe that's because I have an attitude that somebody gave me a long time ago. I had an old sponsor, and he used to talk about the 7th step a lot, and how it applied with being each other's eyes and ears, you know, and I used to get hung up on that because I thought that meant I could walk around and character assassinate people, and I was wrong. What I realized is that I'm supposed to tell people what I hear and what I see them doing, you know, and that made it so much easier. It's like, wait a minute, that's just a nice simple approach, and you know, because if I see somebody doing something that my experience indicates will become a painful situation, and I let them keep walking down that road, I'm doing them a disservice, and I'm not applying the 7th step in my life. And that for me helped me to understand that it's about me sharing my experience, strength, and hope in a loving and caring way, and not pointing the finger and saying that's wrong, or character assassinating, or any of that other stuff that I used to think it was. And for me today, I'm a lot more open because I know that people save my life when they show me or tell me the things they see I'm doing, or the things they hear me saying, you know, because I can lie to myself real easy, you know, and I'll tell that lie to somebody else, and if they don't say it, they don't sound right to me. They just co-sign my bullshit, if that's what it was, you know. And I used to watch people die behind that stuff. I don't want to do it no more, you know. I don't want to co-sign nobody's shit. And if I love somebody enough and I care for them enough, I will tell them, you know, that don't look right, that don't sound right, you know, what's up with that? And you know, and for me, that's how I know I got true friends. You know, a true friend won't say to me, "Oh, they're there," you know, because I went out and did something stupid. They'll say, "Well, what'd you learn? Why did you, you know, do what you did, and what are you going to do different next time?" And help me sort out ways to live differently, you know, hopefully less painful. And I was thinking about a friend of mine a lot lately. I don't know why. And it's like, probably because he taught me this, it comes up in here. He showed me how to love people and confront people. And you know, today it's real easy for me to go to somebody and say, "Look, you know, I see what you're doing," and you know, of course, usually when somebody's really fucking up, everybody else is talking about it. And I'm concerned, so I'm going to talk to you about it, you know. And I have had a lot of blessings from that, you know. One, I grow closer to that person. Two, I feel okay, and if they continue to fuck up, I know it's their choice and not because, you know, they're blindly walking into it. And I can sleep at night, you know, knowing that I did my part. And I really appreciate being here. Thank y'all.
Hi, family. I'm Maddox. My name is Lisa. Grateful to be here clean. And you know, this topic, how we are each other's eyes and ears. I am a Nazi. I'm a purist. I'm basic text blue all the way through. You know, and my thing is, you know, for a long time, I would come in meetings and I would listen to people breaking traditions because I'm a trooper. I'm a concept. I, you know, understand those things. And I would hear you say something in a meeting, and I would walk up to you with my it works how and why open in some cases, you know, and just spray you with the literature. And what I learned from that is that, first of all, number one, if you don't bend, you'll break. That's the first lesson. And the second thing is that there was a time in my recovery where I thought that the only way to recover was the way that I was recovering. If you didn't go to this meeting, if you didn't speak this way, if you didn't talk this language, you know, and I'm not talking about like the when in Rome, do as Romans do. I'm not saying like, you know, outside of barring traditions, but if you didn't recover like I was recovering, then you weren't doing it right. And it was my duty, you know, my sole purpose in life was to tell you how to work this program, because I've been working this program. Can't you see how good my program is? Until I had an opportunity where someone had to come at me and share some things about my behavior. You know, because what I learned is that everybody gets a turn. And as a result of, you know, us being each other's eyes and ears, that means that I have to stay open to receive the same things that I'm willing to give. You know, so like if I get so, we call them levitators. You know, if I'm levitating so much that I think that I am not being in the process of recovery, I am not being the person, that's not being a responsible, productive member of society when I'm all shut down and I'm so rigid that, you know, I can never stray off the path. Because we all have our own issues, and I never know what someone is recovering from. And I have to, what I learned as a result of being here for a couple of days here, is how to approach someone in a loving and caring manner. And sometimes, what I also learned is sometimes some things are just not my place to say. You know, and that was like a fine line, and like this particular statement, we are each other's eyes and ears, is like a double-edged sword, you know, because we can use it as, you know, oh, you know, because I love you, you're my friend, and I want to see you, you know, get further along in your process of recovery, you know, but at the same time, I can use that same thing because I see you acting out in a behavior, you know, that I think is just, you know, horrific, you know, and take that, you know, to slice you and dice you like a food processor, you know. And so what I had to learn is how to, you know, take this not only receive, but to give constructive criticism. And constructive means that not only do I tear you down, but I build you up at the same time. You know what I'm saying? And so that is how we are each other's eyes and ears for me, you know, because I don't believe in giving, you know, what I want to say, criticism without a compliment, you know. So if I'm going to tell you, you know, like, you know, you really shouldn't wear those shoes, you know, with that dress, you know, at least, but the dress is pretty, you know, that kind of thing. I mean, and that's just kind of a little example, but, you know, that's what this thing means for me, how we are each other, because, you know what, I need you all to save my life. I could be at home with the basic text by myself and the concepts and, you know, all that other stuff, reading and absorbing and understanding my behind to death. But I need the fellowship because my belief is that the program is in the book. That's what it is, written so simply that we could follow it in our daily lives. That's the program for me. But I need the fellowship. And so that means that involves the eyes and ears of others. That involves the speaking and the caring and sharing with others the Narcotics Anonymous way. That's what I believe, and that's what's worked for me. And, you know, I've been here going on 9 years, and so I'm not going anywhere. Thanks for letting me share.
I got here really because I didn't have nowhere else to go. And y'all told me to keep coming back. Now you're pissed because I did. So. But what's happened to me is by sticking around, I got some eyes and ears, and I got a conscience. And these are things that I never had. I mean, I had eyes and ears, but it was looking for ways to get over. Get over, get it, and get on. You know? That's what my eyes and ears were all about. So, I took, well, I didn't take them all real quick, but I took the suggestions, and I just kept coming back. And I started learning things. And if I became weak, that's what happened to me. I became weak. And once I became we, some of us left, man. And when people leave, part of us goes with them. And so, like at my home group, this is what I do. Hey man, you seen so-and-so? No. I get the phone number, I call. Maybe I get an answering machine. Hey, you son of a bitch. You told me to keep coming back, and I did, and I ain't seen you around, man. You got something going on, I need to know about it, see? Because I want to know how to recover without going to meetings, you know? And then I'll laugh. And sometimes they come back, you know? Sometimes they come back. And it's good when they do, and they'll laugh, and they'll go, yeah, somebody told me that I was recovering without meetings, and I thought about that. Because I too will read the book. But if I don't share what I read, I start thinking, well, I don't think that's what they meant, man. I start twisting this shit around in my head, watch out now, you know? And the brother was sharing about the casinos. Whenever I go anywhere, I don't care if it's Walmart, Kmart, the A&P, I'm driving around that damn parking lot for a half hour looking for the front row parking spot. So I go to the casino, and I take my little $20 bill and I stuff it in my pocket, and I park as far away from that door as I can. And I'm walking up there and I'm thinking, why in the hell am I doing this? But it's I want that excitement, you know. I want that, you know. God grant me the serenity, and then I get it, and I go, man, I'm bored to death. Every day ain't got to be the 4th of July, man. But that's what I want, is a dope fiend, you know. So I start screwing up. I start sharing about that because I need y'all to tell me that, you know, hey man, maybe you ought to look at this. And somebody's said it this weekend, you know, if one people tells me, well, judgmental motherfuckers, you know, but if 2 or 3 tell me, hey, maybe I may need to start looking at this, you know. So that's where I'm at with it. But see, I was at I don't know, I became a part of this fellowship somewhere along the line. I didn't have to go no more, I wanted to, you know, and that's when the miracle started working for me. And part of wanting to go is like spending weekends like this, you know, and sharing in the process of recovery. And one thing that we went to, it ended up, I don't know, a lot of talk about the 13th step, you know. So I went back home, and I know, you know, we all know who the predators are, man. So in my neighborhood, we got this women's treatment center. And you know, the women in recovery draw a lot of guys to the meetings that sometimes they ain't always there for recovery, but they're there to share what spiritual giants they are. I don't have to do that because I have a wife, you know. She knows I ain't no spiritual giant, so. And if I think I am, I ask her how I'm doing, and that takes care of that. So what I started doing is I mean, just kind of on the sly, man. I ain't going to be no narc about it or nothing like that. I've talked to this person in the past, and there ain't no talking. This, you know, it's, you know, dude don't want to hear it. He wants to throw down. Well, you know, I ain't as young as I used to be, and I don't want to throw down, man, you know. I mean, I get hurt now, and I ain't into all that. And then I'm going to start thinking about revenge, and you're going to come at me from the front. I'm going around behind you. I'm going to blow your ass away. You know, that's how I think, you know. So what I do now is if I see him clicking up with the chicks, you know, eventually I'll get around. I'll say, hey, you know, and I don't do it in a manner to build myself up, because this person has a lot of time in, and this person has a wonderful message. And I try to put it out there like, look, everything ain't what it seems, you know. Be careful. That's all. Be careful. And I guess that's when I saw this topic, that's, you know, it reminds me of that old Hill Street Blues thing, man. That old dude used to get up there and he'd say, hey, be careful out there. Man, we need to. We die out there. We die out there. And if we don't take care of each other, there ain't nobody to do it, man. So if you ain't taking care of nobody, just take care of yourself. And if you see me falling, man, pick me up, and I'll try to pick you up. I try not to kick you anymore, you know. I mean, because I miss and shit and fall down, then you got to help me up anyways, you know. So, I mean, that's what it is. Let's just try to be good to each other. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark.
Hi, family. My name's Cynthia. I'm an addict. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to share? If not, we can close the meeting. Gather around a group hug. And who wants to take us out? Mike or